We continue on. Edmonton Sports Leader TSN 1260. Jason Gregor, Jason Strutta, Connor Halley with you. We'll get more into Ryan Smith, Lee Fogland. Of course, the Oilers taking on the New Jersey Devils in what should be a pretty entertaining hockey game tonight. We'll see if the Devils, are they for real? Like, they're improved, no question. 8 of their 10 games have come against teams that didn't play in the playoffs last year. So we'll see. They are definitely killing it when it comes to shots against. They're only averaging 21.8 shots against per game. That's pretty darn
tight.
Good. And they're scoring quite a bit. Jesper Bratt's off to a great start. But like Chico Resch said, they haven't met a team like this. So it'll be interesting to see. And, do the Oilers come out? Can they continue on their roll? They've played pretty well during this 5-game winning streak. We'll see if it continues tonight. Let's get to the racing report now, brought to you by CanTorque. And, of course, fall is here. And that means a shutdown season, even in the snow. You have your project covered with torque tools, tensioners, flange spreaders, and Strutty's favorite, nut splitters. All available to rent or purchase at CanTorque.com. Colin Livingston joins us, fresh back from the Mexican Grand Prix, where he's there, but also doing other racing, or watching it, I should say, with Alex Tagliani. We'll get into all of that stuff in a second, Colin. But I first want to get your thoughts. Connor, do you have the clip? I want to play this clip, Colin, and I want to get your thoughts on it. Cons, are we ready? Okay, here. Listen to this clip. This is, of course, from the end of the NASCAR race this past weekend.
Played a lot of NASCAR 2005 on the GameCube with Chad growing up, and you could get away with it. And I never knew if it would actually work. And I did that when I was 8 years old, and I grabbed fifth gear. I asked off of 2 on the last lap if we needed it, and we did. I couldn't tell who was leading, and I just made the choice. I grabbed fifth gear down the back and full committed. Once I got against the wall, I basically let go of the wheel. Just hoped I didn't catch the turn 4 access gate or something crazy, but I was willing to do it.
Now, Colin, you've raced a lot. What'd you make of that move?
Honestly, I've got 2 different opinions of it, because the actual cojones that it took to pull that off in a race in that situation, unbelievable. And I caught that video. I mean, I definitely didn't see it live, but I caught the video shortly after the race. We were back at the hotel, and between Tag and I watched that thing about, I don't know, 30 times, like just in disbelief. Like brilliant, absolutely amazing to think about. Ross Chastain, 2 thumbs up. I'm doing 2 thumbs up on my camera right now. Super excellent exploitation of the situation to to be able to pass that many cars in that little amount of time when it was needed, and bring the car home in one piece. The flip side is that NASCAR taking a look at that and saying, you know what, we're not going to change the rule. That's acceptable racing. Realistically, your car should be independent of any outside entity. You should not be able to run along the walls. You should not be able to, do that, because there's going to come a time where a driver's going to try that and the wall's going to give way. They're going to hit an imperfection in the wall, launch down, and cause a massive accident. This is well outside of the intention of what racing is. And they're going to have to address it. Hopefully, they're saying they're not going to do anything immediately. Hopefully in the off season. I mean, there's only the one race left at Phoenix. Don't think that track is going to lend itself to that through the newly configured 3 and 4, but I guess we'll see.
Colin, I mean, it's not the only type of car that would work. Like, it wouldn't work with F1, would it?
Oh, no. You hit the wall in F1, you start ripping, front suspension, rear suspension, like it's got to be a body car. I mean, even at Pinty's, we could possibly try that at a couple of tracks, but the person that tries to get into the wall at St. John's, as we saw this year, LP Dumoulin kind of got pushed up. He made, I'm not going to speak for him, but I believe he made a bit of a mistake and got pushed up into the wall. The second he touched that wall, his car turned. It was one of the hardest hits. I'm very glad that LP was okay and was able to walk away, ripped his front wheel off. There's walls that you just can't do that. But in that situation at that time, to be the first to do it, bravo. But now everyone's thinking that that's going to be the status quo. I just, going back a bunch of years, the NASCAR All-Star race, Hendrick Motorsports put Jeff Gordon in what ended up getting called the T-Rex car. They were sponsored by Jurassic Park at the time. They were tasked as a crew with coming up with all the innovation that they could think of that was as far into the gray zone without touching the black of the rule book. Jeff Gordon lapped the field, parked the car. NASCAR took the car, confiscated the car, took a look at it, and said to Ray Evernham, who was Gordon's crew chief at the time, said, listen, there is nothing technically illegal on this car, and don't ever bring it back to the track again. And that kind of needed to be the mentality that NASCAR had after this, in my opinion. But we'll see what they do.
Now let's move to Mexico, where it was a kind of a two reason race for you to be there. Of course, for F1, but also was the Legends Cup.
Yeah.
And so explain to any of our listeners, you had guys like Paul Tracy, Alex Tagliani, just some Canadians, and of course, many other, very successful drivers. Tell us about the Legends Cup, and the fact that in the quote amateur race was maybe the more difficult one, because there was a lot of crashes just to guys to try to get to the Legends race.
Yeah, I mean, so what it was, this was part of the Super Copa series, which is run owned and operated by Michel Jourdain Jr. Anyone who's watched IndyCar or back to the Champ Car days will know these names very well. But Michel, first of all, is just an absolute gem of a human being. Such a nice guy. Worked his ass off for weeks trying to put the logistics together. Mark Blundell came over from the UK. Tag Paul Tracy came down from Canada. There were guys that, came from Brazil. There were guys that came from all over the place. So to be able to put it together, and then, all the logistics of getting everyone moved around and things like that. And then not only that, but then these cars are actual, personally owned or privately owned race cars, that the deal was that the Super Copa drivers, if they wanted to compete during the Grand Prix weekend, they had to make their car available to, one of these IndyCar legends. So, hats off to Michelle for getting all this stuff lined up. And it wasn't easy. Like our car, for example, I say our car, Alex's car, wasn't available because it was a brand new car. It hadn't been constructed. There was a test day last Tuesday at a track called Puebla that we all went out to. And the car just wasn't there. They hadn't finished building it yet. So we had to try and run with some of the other teams. Everyone was so gracious and so friendly to try and make it happen. But the lead driver in the car that Alex tried to drive, candidly, was 6'6", probably closer to 6'8". I mean, he looked like, Bigfoot, and super nice guy. But, for Alex to try and get in the car, he could either be in the seat and couldn't reach the pedals, or he could get to where he could reach the pedals, but couldn't stay in the seat. So in the higher G corners, he was just splashing around. So, that whole day, weren't able to practice. But by the time we got to the race, our lead driver, the amateur, Juan Carlo, made a little bit of a mistake, probably started pushing a little bit too early before the tires were ready. And with the brand new car, 5 laps on it, put it into the concrete wall, really hurt the left front corner. Now, you said something about that I was just there watching. I can tell you, I've still got fiberglass in my hands from thrashing on the car, trying to help the crew. I mean, the crew that we had at the track was only 3 people. So for the first time ever, I actually felt useful as a crew person. More than anything, I'm just the guy that talks, whether it's here on the radio or talking to Tag as a spotter. But worked so hard to get the thing ready to go. It was able to run, but for Tag's session, which was a practice session on Friday, we didn't have the splitter back on, didn't get to do the alignment, had no radiator fan. Like it was scary. to get out onto the track. And with that was still only 17 thousandths of a second off the fastest time that was set. So yeah, it was really awesome. The whole weekend was just unbelievable. I mean, getting to go into the Formula One paddock and seeing, the paddock club and, some of the reporters we only see on TV and, rubbing elbows with guys like Villeneuve. And, we saw Hinch quite a bit over the weekend, and, these guys couldn't be nicer. Yeah, it was just awesome. And again, hats off, to Michelle and everyone at the Grand Prix for, how we were treated and being able to pull this off.
Colin, just one quick one for here. Do you think that the Legends Cup will continue in maybe whether in this or other events style?
Yeah, I think, one of the requirements or one of the one of the instructions that Michelle and his crew gave is like, listen, let's not destroy everyone at turn one, lap one. Let's show that we're professionals. Let's bring these cars back without a lot of damage so that, the owners of these cars and the drivers of these cars are more open to it. So there was a lot of talk about trying to move this Legends Cup around. So, how awesome would this thing be if we were able to run as a feature to the Indy 500 or bring these guys up to GP3R in Trois-Rivières, where everyone gets a chance to see these guys race again. And I'll tell you, some of these guys aren't quite in race shape anymore, and some of them are still in absolute race shape. But, a guy like Paul Tracy, man, he found his groove again. Paul was just absolutely, super hospitable, very friendly. It was great to see him and Tag interacting, helping each other out with setups and everyone checking in, hearing these old stories from, Paul and Alex at San Jose in 2006, or hearing about, the 2003 Texas race that was canceled because the G-forces were too high. I mean, it was just for a schmuck kid from Stony Plain, Alberta, man, I was in my glory last week, and, just will do everything possible. And I know Alex feels the same way, that whatever we can do to get more of these races and get these guys back together again, just can't do anything but help racing.
One last one for you, Colin.
Yeah.
Lots of talk again about just, the wrong decisions by the opponents of Red Bull. Maybe it wouldn't have mattered if they went to the different tire strategy for Lewis Hamilton and Russell. But when it's like Ferrari's had some really odd decisions this year, obviously same with Lewis Hamilton and his team. Is that a sign that they know Red Bull's better, so they end up out thinking, well, we have to try this. It's the only way to beat them.
I think they underestimated they overestimated the tire degradation. And I think it's been a hard enough season for Mercedes that they forgot how to win. And I don't mean that disrespectfully, but they've been chasing to find every little inch, every little millimeter, every thousandth of a second that they can. And now all of a sudden they're actually moderately competitive, where they were like the fifth and sixth place cars by a long shot. Now they're actually able to lead and challenge and be in a position to win. They've got to get their mindset back and a little bit of that confidence and swagger to say, like, listen, we can be there at the end. Let's throw a medium on. Let's go through a soft stint in the middle, knowing that we're going to be good enough. I think if they can believe that they'll be there a little bit, they'll be able to execute a bit more. And everyone said that Mexico was their one and only chance. But I think, Brazil next weekend, they've got as good a chance as any, because Red Bull won't have the long straightaways to really execute, or really utilize the power that they've had. So, still hoping that somebody else can win besides these guys before the end of the season, whether it's, Ferrari, Mercedes, or one of the mid-pack cars, just to throw a little bit of a wrench into things.
Well, Colin, great stuff as always, man. We will talk to you again next Thursday. Have a good one.
You betcha. Thanks a lot, guys.
There you go. That is Colin Livingston, fresh back from Mexico for the Grand Prix and, of course, the Legends Cup. Let's get to the con man with the sports. And congratulations, Rob is the big winner for the tickets. He's going to the game tonight.